On Thursday, the extremist majority of the Supreme Court ruled against Planned Parenthood. Now, their 6-3 decision would block the organization from being able to sue states that have opted to pull Medicaid funding from them because of the fact that they do provide abortions, even though no federal money actually is allowed to go towards abortion care. Doesn't matter. Now, the majority opinion written by Justice Neil Gorsuch was well, okay. He wrote the opinion here, and here's what that said. Rather than trying to square a circle, we think it's better. The better course is the one that our precedents suggest. So now let me be clear, right? This was not a ruling on the merits of having Medicaid funding be able to be used by Planned Parenthood. What this was is that it basically was a ruling on procedure. Okay, one of those things. So now the law, he said, uses clear and unambiguous rights, creating language so neither supports a private lawsuit. At issue, of course, is a Reconstruction-era law allowing people to sue the federal government in court for violations of their civil rights. And so their ruling was basically like, well, it doesn't actually specifically say that, so we can't allow this. We can't allow the states to sue. Or I'm sorry, we can't allow the Planned Parenthood to sue the states. Okay, so now Justice Clarence Thomas wrote, plaintiffs now routinely use the law alleging constitutional violations that would have been unimaginable in 1871. Hey, do you know what else is unimaginable in 1871? Having a smartphone. Or having a black Supreme Court justice. That would also be unimaginable in 1871. But we had those. And look, we have to deal with things that are relevant in the current age that people back then could not have foreseen. Now, perhaps that is why the Constitution is a living document, just saying that can adapt with the times. Now, wait, what does this have to do with that? Well, the reason that I bring it up is because Thomas calls himself an originalist, as do many of the Heritage Foundation picks that have made up the Supreme Court majority that continues to vote the way that they're voting. It's very limiting. Okay, seeing yourself as a originalist to the Constitution, because you're basically saying that, oh yeah, no, because the Constitution is not a living document, which means it cannot change to reflect the realities of the day, of the current age that we live in. I guess we can, since it can't change, we can't really rule on these particular things. So I guess Reconstruction-era law, it doesn't really count. We can't really add that in there. We can't really allow people to sue the states for, constitutional violations, because, that's too new. So, sorry, we're going to have to rule against you. Again, this is a technical ruling, okay? Not based on the merits at all. Which, of course, led to a sharp debate between Thomas and Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who wrote the dissent for the court's liberals, the liberal minority. Jackson argued that the majority was weakening the landmark civil rights protections that Congress enacted during Reconstruction, and said the court's ruling is likely to result in tangible harm to real people. At a minimum, she says, it will deprive Medicaid recipients in South Carolina of their only meaningful way of enforcing a right that Congress has expressly granted to them, which is the right to be able to sue the government for violating their constitutional rights. And more importantly, it will strip those South Carolinians and countless other Medicaid recipients across the country of a deeply personal freedom, the ability to decide who treats us at our most vulnerable. Hey, whatever happened to patient choice? Apparently, if you're on Medicaid, you don't get that anymore. Now, this case goes back to a 2018 decision made by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, which banned Medicaid funding for the state's 2 Planned Parenthood clinics. Now, McMaster argued that those payments were just a subsidy for abortions, to which the state had already effectively banned. McMaster's order, while aimed at restricting access to abortion, had the effect of also blocking patients from receiving any of the other myriad services at Planned Parenthoods, including contraception, breast exams, and testing for STIs or cancer. Yes, Planned Parenthood does far more than just abortions. In fact, abortion actually makes up about only 3% of the services that they offer. Most of the service they offer actually is contraception, STI testing, cancer screenings, etc. However, if you're in South Carolina and you need those, well, I guess you can't go there now and have Medicaid pay for it. Sorry. So now, of course, that's why they sued, because a huge chunk of Planned Parenthood's revenue, what they need to operate and give those services, a lot of them, by the way, many of those services are free, do come from government funding like Medicaid. So this is a disaster for Planned Parenthood. Now, they argued that the restrictions encroached on patients' deeply personal rights to choose their own doctor. Oh, what's that? Republicans? Didn't you guys say that you didn't want the government to get between you and your doctor? Well, what the hell is this? This is the government getting between you and your doctor, saying that you can't go to that doctor because that's a Planned Parenthood doctor. We don't agree with that. Oh, okay. And there it is. Guess you didn't mean that, huh? Here's the thing. This is going to impact about 1/5 of South Carolina residents. Yeah, that's a lot of people. They're insured through Medicaid, according to court records. But it won't just impact those people in South Carolina. It will impact a lot of people across the country. It goes way beyond just one state. It's likely to encourage this decision other red state governors to cut their own funding for Planned Parenthood from Medicaid programs. Now, South Carolina, of course, was represented by the conservative religious law group Alliance Defending Freedom, which apparently they are not actually defending freedom at all. Everything they do seems to be focused on taking away freedom from people, so it's pretty Orwellian, their name. But they argued that the Medicaid law was not a civil rights statute. The law doesn't specifically include language giving people the right to sue, which of course gave the state the perfect defense, and not only defunding Planned Parenthood, but now taking away reproductive care for those on Medicaid, especially contraceptive services. Look, this is not an accident. This is not an accident. This is by design. This administration is all about promoting neonatalism, which basically boiled down to the most simplest aspects here means we want more people to have babies. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing to want more kids. No, but the problem is how they're doing it, right? They're taking away access to contraception for poor people, okay? That means more unplanned pregnancies. You cut people off from accessing Planned Parenthood, from accessing contraception, you're going to have more unplanned pregnancy. Combine that with the abortion bans. Combine that with, of course, no longer teaching comprehensive sex ed in high schools, for example, and you end up having more unplanned pregnancy and forced birth, which achieves the right-wing goal of more babies, except you're going to have more babies that are born in poverty. But again, that is the point. That is the purpose here. Because kids born to poorer families often do not do as well academically. Poverty messes with your brain. It really does. Which means these children are more likely to become an easily exploitable labor force. Which means they will not complain about getting paid very, very little to do very, very dangerous work. I think that's the overall goal here, honestly, and why they're restricting access to quality education, healthcare, reproductive care specifically, and while, of course, continuing to push people to have more and more babies, despite the fact that they are purposely making the economic conditions in this country terrible for working people. All of this really feels like it's in service to Project 2025, which is, of course, the stated goal there is to help very, very rich people by creating a cheap, exploitable domestic labor force. And one that will, of course, continue to vote Republican in order to keep them in power. At the end of the day, this was never, ever about being pro-life. It's basically pro-slavery. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.